They fear him. They mock him. But they cannot stop him. His name is Ibrahim Traoré. And in just a few months, this young soldier has shaken the foundations of Western power in Africa. At the age of 34, he walked into the halls of power not with politics, but with purpose. France, the old master of West Africa, is losing control. And it is because of him. In Burkina Faso, Traoré is not just a leader, he is a symbol of resistance, of revolution, of a generation that refuses to be slaves. But why is France so desperate to silence him? Why are foreign media channels spreading propaganda against him? Why do Western powers call him dangerous, even terrorist adjacent? What is it about this one African man that scares them so deeply? In this video, we will expose the hidden war, the media lies, the gold under the ground, the truth behind France's fear. You are watching the only place that tells it raw, tells it real. Subscribe now, and let us wake up those who are still sleeping. This is not just politics. This is history in the making. Let us begin. Burkina Faso, a small landlocked country in West Africa. It does not have skyscrapers or a booming tech industry. It does not sit at the center of global trade. But beneath its feet lies a buried empire. Gold. Over 2,000 metric tons of it. Tens of billions of dollars sleeping under the soil. But the people of Burkina Faso, they are among the poorest in the world, living on less than $2 a day, walking miles for water, struggling for schools, clinics, and electricity. How is this possible? The answer lies in a system that is not just corrupt, but designed to be the way. For decades, this gold has not been Burkina Faso's gold. It has been France's gold, Canada's gold, Western corporations' gold. The system is brutally simple. Foreign companies, mostly European, come in and get exclusive mining rights. They set up massive industrial operations. They pay tiny taxes, bribe a few officials, and then extract millions of dollars worth of gold. The profit, 90% or more, goes straight back to Europe. The scraps left behind are barely enough to maintain the dust-covered roads leading to the mines. These companies pollute the water. They leave the land scarred and hollow. And when the gold is gone, they leave. Burkina Faso remains poor, broken, forgotten. And the world moves on. But then came Ibrahim Traoré. At just 34 years old, this military captain turned revolutionary made it clear this will not continue. One of his first and boldest moves after coming to power was to review all foreign mining contracts. He called out French exploitation openly. He declared that Burkina Faso's resources must be for Burkinabe people, not for foreign billionaires. But he went even further. He ordered the removal of French troops stationed in Burkina Faso, because he knew, as long as they are present, real independence is impossible. This decision alone sent shockwaves through Western capitals. Why? Because they were not just losing access to gold, they were losing control. France and its allies were not afraid of guns or coups. They were afraid of something much more dangerous, an idea. The idea that Africa can own its own wealth, that its people do not have to beg for aid, while their soil feeds European economies, that the slave-master relationship can be broken not with war, but with willpower. What if every African leader did what Traoré did? What if Nigeria, Congo, Mali, Chad, Guinea, all said, no more, our gold is ours, our land is ours, France's? Entire economic structure in Africa would collapse. The billions made from colonial leftovers would vanish, and the illusion of benevolent foreign partnerships would fall apart. That is why they begin calling Traoré a threat. That is why Western media labeled him radical, anti-democratic, unstable. Not because he committed crimes, not because he started wars, but because he committed the one act that is truly unforgivable in the eyes of empire. He told his people the truth, and he acted on it. He looked into the camera and said, Burkina Faso must be free. economically, politically, and militarily. And he meant it. Now the old powers are panicking. Their gold mine is slipping. Their silence is breaking. Their fear is growing. Because for the first time in decades, a man stood up, not to negotiate his chains, but to break them. Ibrahim Traoré was not born into power. He was born into a small village. He became a soldier. He served in dangerous missions. He fought in real wars, not from behind desks, but from the front lines. And that is what made him different. In 2022, when Burkina Faso was suffering from terrorist attacks, economic crisis, and corruption, Traoré saw that the leaders were failing. And so, he took a stand. The coup he led was swift. No chaos, no long speeches. Just one thing: the people deserve better. But after the coup, he did not run to France for support. He did the opposite. He expelled French troops. He closed down French media stations. He started arming his own forces, training them, and turning Burkina Faso into a country that could defend itself. This is when the Western media started their campaign. He is too young. He is a dictator. He is dangerous. But ask yourself, why? Because he did not beg for help. Because he stood with his people instead of with France. Traoré's message was simple. We do not need foreign soldiers to protect us. We need to protect our own soil. And for France, that was unforgivable. Because a self-reliant Africa is their biggest nightmare. When France starts to lose power on the battlefield, it does not raise a white flag. It raises headlines. It launches editorials. It fights not with soldiers, but with stories. And so began the Second War, the war of words. Almost overnight, the Western media machine turned its eyes to Ibrahim Traoré. They did not try to understand him. They did not try to listen. They only tried to label. Traoré is pro-Russia. Burkina Faso is turning into a dictatorship. Human rights are at risk. Democracy is dying. These are the words of powerful outlets: France 24, BBC, Reuters, DW, and others. Each article, each report, each headline, carefully crafted to create doubt, fear, and confusion. But the truth: he simply said no to being controlled, no to foreign troops, no to stolen resources, no to being a puppet. And for that, he was branded as a villain. But this is not the first time it has happened. Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary leader of Burkina Faso in the 1980s, was also called dangerous. He rejected foreign aid. He nationalized land. He wore simple clothes and rode bicycles with his ministers. And he said these words: "He who feeds you controls you." Within 4 years, he was assassinated, and the media called it a restoration of order. They said the same about Muammar Gaddafi, once praised by the West for stabilizing Libya. He later spoke of creating a gold-backed African currency. Suddenly, he was a dictator. Soon after dead, they did it to Patrice Lumumba in Congo. They did it to Robert Mugabe, to Paul Kagame, to Kwame Nkrumah, and even to Nelson Mandela, who at one time was officially considered a terrorist by the United States. This is not journalism. This is colonial narrative control. Because the truth is dangerous when it is spoken by someone who cannot be bought. Ibrahim Traoré does not own TV stations. He does not control global media. He does not sit in think tanks funded by billion-dollar lobbies. But he does have one weapon more powerful than any of those: the voice of his people. He walks with them. He speaks their language. He listens. He bleeds with them. And now, slowly, the world is starting to see through the smoke. People are questioning the headlines. They are asking, if he is truly a dictator, why do the streets cheer for him? If he is so dangerous, why are other African nations joining him? Because the truth, no matter how much you try to bury, it always finds a way to rise. Just like the voices of millions who believe that Africa deserves more than chains made of words. And that is what the media fears most. This story is no longer just about Burkina Faso. It is about a continent waking up. After Traoré's bold stand, leaders in Mali, Niger, and Guinea began forming alliances. They too began removing French troops. They too began talking about self-rule, sovereignty, and unity. What is happening is not just a political movement. It is a Pan-African wave, something France and the West fear deeply. Because if Africa unites, not just in flags, but in purpose, it will become the richest and strongest continent on Earth. Traoré knows this. That is why he meets with other revolutionary leaders. That is why he speaks not just as a Burkinabe, but as an African. And that is why he is a threat, not just to France, but to the entire colonial system. So now we ask, why do they really want Ibrahim Traoré gone? It is not because he is corrupt. It is not because he is violent. It is not even because of Russia. They want him gone because he gives people hope. Hope that the chains of the past can be broken. Hope that Africa can rise. Hope that poverty is not destiny. Hope is dangerous. France does not fear bullets. It fears ideas. And Traoré's idea, that Africa belongs to Africans, is more powerful than any army. That is why they fight him in the shadows. That is why they attack his name. That is why they want him gone. But he is still standing, and so are the millions who believe in him. This is not just content. This is not just a video. This is resistance. If you believe Africa has the right to rise, if you believe in justice, in truth, and freedom, then do not stay silent. Subscribe now. Share this video. Let the world hear the voice they tried to silence because they might fear Ibrahim Traoré. But the truth cannot be stopped.